Thanksgiving was just 5 days ago, and Morgan County is already feeling the impact. Over the last week, 47% of people who were tested for COVID-19 were positive, leaving ICU beds full and hospital staff exhausted. Our Kelly Kennedy tells us what leaders in Morgan County are doing to deal with the rising cases.
Health officials in Morgan County expected a spike in COVID cases after Thanksgiving, but they did not expect to see it this quickly. And now hospitals are paying the price.
That's the major thing. It is having enough staff to take care of these patients. And so, again, I think I share with y'all every week how tired the doctors, the staff, everybody is, the nurses taking care of patients.
There are people walking around 2 days before they have symptoms, and then they become symptomatic. We've already had 2 calls, unfortunately, this morning of people who've called in and said, oh, I started having symptoms Friday and I went to my family on Thursday, and that's how it happens.
Right now, there are 60 COVID patients in the Decatur Morgan Hospital system. 9 more are under investigation.
There's a total of 69 patients that we're treating as COVID positive because the presumptives are treated as positive until we get a negative on them.
8 COVID patients are in the ICU. 3 of them are on a ventilator. And despite the new coronavirus unit at the hospital's Parkway campus, opened specifically to bring more beds to the area, they've had to resort to using the ER, causing longer wait times for the emergency room.
We also have 1 presumptive in the ICU, and we were holding 5 PUIs in the ER as well. So holding 9 ER patients this morning waiting on beds. So it is definitely up a lot.
The Decatur Morgan Hospital has gotten a freezer to hold COVID vaccines. They hope to vaccinate healthcare workers and first responders by the end of the year. Putting the Valley first, Kelly Kennedy, WZDX News.